It's episode 10, I think, of
Yeah.
Simp Station Internet Football Fantasy Podcast. I am your constant host, Travioli Prime, Travis Johns, bitch, whatever you want to call me, like, it doesn't matter. Joined always by my
Especially
constant
bitch.
co-host. You watch your goddamn mouth. Joined always by my constant co-host, Alec Wyatt, Hobag, whatever you want to call him.
Especially Hobag.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, brothers and sisters?
Well, I don't know what the fuck that was, and I don't want to hear it again.
I mean, I'm just hyped because I'm on a 5-game win streak. The Jags won, Vikings won. It was a pog weekend.
Vikings suck. You were gassing them up this week, like, oh, maybe they're better than we think, and then I just watched them almost lose to the Commanders. It's
But
like,
did they lose, though?
well, Taylor Heineke literally gifted them the game. Like, he
Yeah, but that secondary ref tried to gift the commies the game by tackling the Vikings player when he was easily going to intercept the ball. But we don't talk about that.
never should have been that close. Anyways, this is not a, well, I guess it is kind of a football podcast. I don't know. I don't even know what this thing is anymore. We're back to just the two boys this week. We've almost cycled through all of our guests that want to be on the show, and we thought, let's go back to the basics.
To the roots.
10 weeks ago, we did our first podcast. You were in your room in Nashville, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe you were here.
No, it was wait. Yeah, it was in Nashville.
I think the first one was in Nashville.
The first couple were.
We made the Discord kind of pissed off with draft content. So we thought, what we could do this week besides make the Discord kind of pissed off with draft content with just us two. So after our topic today, we got a pretty exciting one. We're going to be doing a hindsight draft for this year in fantasy. Basically, we're going to use our 9 weeks of knowledge to redraft the first 3 rounds.
The redraft.
But of course, we had an exciting week of fantasy this week. Some insanely close matches. I mean, start by talking about yours, because it's one of them.
I got another 2-point victory. It's my second of the year. I also had a 5-point victory earlier, so I'm just skimming by the skin of my teeth. But we take those, and my team is. It's not ideal, but I got some players. I got Travis Etienne, the GOAT, and he's about my only hope.
Honestly, I think your MVP this week was Malik Willis, because he kind of forgot Robert Woods existed. Yeah, the other close matchup, Sharksy versus Reeves, also came down to Monday night. Reeves' defense looking a little suspect towards the end. They allowed points, but they got enough points to give them a 5-point victory, I think.
Yeah, they got 4 sacks, so that helped them out.
4 sacks and a pick, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was a really good game as well. I mean, even me and Biz was really close. She started Naheem Hines on accident, which could have made things a lot worse.
Yeah.
But it didn't, and that's, what, we take those.
We almost had our first, I think our first of the season at least. We almost had our first Flame Horizon win of the season, but just barely missed it.
I think there was only one last year, and that was Becca's 170-point week when Sharksy forgot to participate.
And she scored like 45 or something.
Yeah, I think that's the only one we've had so far. But yeah, and Beans definitely had a chance with I'm sure the guy who's going to dominate the studs section, Joe Mixon, popping off.
That was kind of cracked.
Let's see. I mean, Dalton Mbue picked up another win against Becca this week.
Yeah,
putting them to 4-5. They are tied for a playoff spot.
Somehow. I mean,
with how hard we absolutely trashed their team earlier this season, they are tied for a playoff spot.
Another stud candidate, Justin Fields, just apparently is just a running back who throws red zone touchdowns. So,
yeah, it was crazy.
Benglewood moved up to join the 6-3 squad of 5 6-3 teams at the top, and Ag Mills is still struggling down there, but we don't need to pile on anymore than we have.
I have a feeling we'll get to gas up something a little bit about Alex during our topic section. But, yeah, I mean, it was a close week overall. I mean, we kind of knew it was going to be like that going into the week. The only lopsided matchup seeding-wise was at the Super Bowl rematch.
Yeah, and it turned out how we expected it to. So.
Yeah, pretty much. I think I'm trying to remember. Because we have one prediction last week that I went different on, and I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was. I think I picked Dalton over Becca, and you and Bangwood both picked Becca. I don't know. I had a dub somewhere in there, and I get so few. I need to take them all when I can.
Got to point them out.
All right, let's move into our awards for the week, starting with the stud. I mean, this section is Joe Mixon. It's Joe Mixon.
So I was gonna say, usually, like in my weekly spreadsheet for our podcast, I have like a few from each position for the stud. This week, it's just Joe Mixon. I mean, you get 5 touchdowns, so you can't not be the stud of the week.
In my document, I had studs, Joe Mixon, and then it's everything's in 12 font, and then I put in size 6 font Justin Fields. It's a little bit there. I think in most weeks, Fields probably would be the stud of the week.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think it's not, it'd be kind of unfair, and that's a waiver wire pickup for Dalton and BUA, and he scored almost half of their team's points this week, so it's definitely huge. But yeah, it's Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
I think the more interesting conversation will be the duds. Give us some shitters.
Well, I mean, Michael Pittman was a big dud for me. He got, I think, 3 points. Another from me, Deontay Foreman, also had 3 points. Robert Woods for Spencer, gave him that fat goose egg, which I appreciated. A couple QBs, Justin Herbert. He didn't do terrible, but he's not living up to the hype of Justin Herbert. Jared Goff didn't do well. A-Rod threw 3 interceptions in the red zone. Those are just a few names that I had.
I had a few of those. I think Foreman and Robert Woods stood out really well. I mean, Robert Woods, that's hard to blame Robert Woods. He has like a running back playing quarterback.
Yeah.
But Foreman, after that huge week last week, it was pretty surprising.
Well, it was also partially game script because the Bengals literally destroyed them. It was 28-0, like halfway through the second quarter.
Okay, but the Falcons a few weeks ago taught me that when you're down to the Bengals by 28 points in the first half, you could still only run the ball. Yeah, you could throw 14 times. So
that's fair.
I mean, I kind of had Dalton's team except for Justin Fields and Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Those two combined for 66 of his 96 points. All 7 of his other starters scored less than 10. His third best starter was Adam Thielen at 8.2, Daniel Carlson at 8. But duds would be Paris Camp. Why did he start 2 Colts receivers?
Yeah, I was about to say, when you're starting 2 receivers on one of the worst passing offenses in the league, there's a problem. Like, how do you win in that week?
And Mike Gesicki, who's been irrelevant most weeks, continued to be irrelevant this week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I saw he only played 17% of the snaps this week.
Yeah,
so he's looking like
done.
Yeah, I think he was third. He was their third string running back in snaps played, which is not a great look. But Dalton still got the win.
Somehow,
of course, I had Devin Duvernay on my team, the number 1 wide receiver for the Ravens. He ran the most routes of anyone on their team, and he had 1 target, 1 catch for 5 yards.
Yeah.
It's sick. I also had Devonta Smith for Steele's team, 3.2 against a pretty mediocre defense. I think a lot of the stuff went to Goddard and A.J. Brown instead of
it did.
Instead of Devonta Smith.
Oh, boy, Goddard.
That's pretty much all I had, though.
We can't one more name that I'll throw out there we can't forget is usually a mainstay on this section is Kyle Pitts. He only had 3 points.
Him anymore. Like, It's just a dud for the season.
I mean, he had 1 good week last week, but that's about it.
Yeah. And similar to our stud of the week, I don't really think there's a good manager candidate this week except for Beans.
Yeah.
It's like no one really stood out. I think Banglewood was the only person to play his best roster, but half of his team was on bye, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And
he didn't really have a choice.
He scored second most. Oh, no,
But it was still,
he lost about 0.7 to Robert Tunyon over Kyle Pitts.
and he scored
But
second most, and it was still 50 less than Beans. So I feel like it's got to go to Beans.
yeah, it's probably Beans. Actually, and Beans ironically could have gotten more points because she left Kenyon Drake on the bench.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and then I didn't have anything for waiver wire of the week. I didn't even.
Yeah, I was looking through them, and I mean, there's a couple kickers and defenses picked up. I picked up Rondale Moore, and he scored 11 for me. I mean, that was about the only one that had a meaningful contribution.
Yeah, I think we're getting to that point in the season where waiver wire pickups having an impact is going to be pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe
Sometimes, I mean, if you strike lightning, or if somebody gets injured and you pick up somebody who's going to get a lot of work, then that can be it. But other than that, it's slim pickings out there on the waiver wire.
Yeah, well, I guess that means we can just get into the topic. This is the earliest.
Yeah, we're just trucking through it.
In I know we're already at 11 minutes, and it's like, holy shit, we're already here. But I think this topic could take a while, so I'm not too sad about it. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the topic we're going to be doing a redraft of our fantasy draft, same picks and everything. I'm going to do the teams that have an odd number in the first round. So that's Becca, Dalton and B-Way, Travis, Biz, Steele, and Spencer. And then Wyatt's going to be doing the other teams. So we're going to be we're going to try and do like little team needs, but it's also more just a reevaluation of like how people were. And we're going to say like when they were drafted originally, and like, the point is not to like roast anyone's draft. Because, there's going to be players that were taken in the first. We're only going to do 3 rounds. There's going to be players that were taken in the first 3 rounds that aren't going to be on this list. It's not to roast people. It's more of just like a check.
It's just to see. I mean, because this happens every year, and everybody had draft picks that went wrong. Because it's just to see. It's interesting to see how some late picks really could have been early picks and done really well, and some early picks should have been late picks, and that's just how fantasy is. So we're going to go through it.
And before we start, I guess, do you have any like big takeaways? Because I had a couple.
Yeah, I had a few.
Yeah, I mean, for me, one, quarterbacks, I think the best quarterbacks probably should have been taken higher than they were.
Yeah, the top, I think it was 5 quarterbacks are way, way better than the rest.
Yeah, and even like it's really the top 3 because with those stats, Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow hadn't had a bye week yet.
Yeah,
and they're like the next tier. But really, it's Josh Allen, who was taken about where he should have been, I think.
Yeah.
Now that I think people thought it was pretty early, but I think looking in hindsight, it's probably about where it should have been. Yeah, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts are going to end up being pretty high.
Yep.
And then my other takeaway was actually we did okay in the first round.
Yeah, the first round picks, there were a couple misses, but for the most part, it was good. One of my takeaways was just running backs are so hard to get right.
I saw about 21 running backs that I think are like starters. And everyone has 2 running back positions, meaning we need 24.
That's tough.
That's a problem. But yeah, I mean, we're just going to go through. I'll take my number 1 pick. We didn't tell any of we haven't done any of this before, so it's all going to be on the fly.
All off the top.
My number 1 pick for Becca is going to be Austin Eckler. He was taken number 4 overall in the original draft. He has 168 points this week, or this year. Not this week. That'd be hype. I don't blame Becca. I think Becca made the right choice taking JT here in the real draft.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, he was like undisputed number 1 overall. Like safety, he was thought to have the safest floor and maybe the highest upside too, based on how he played last year. And it's just that Colts offense has just been a disaster.
Yeah. So I mean, and it turns out Alex made an awesome pick at 4 with Eckler. I think he's the best player in fantasy right now. One of
he gets so many touchdowns. Really.
Yeah, I mean, it's so consistent with how much he finds the end zone. He consistently gets 15 plus touches somehow a game.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll let you take number 2 for Sharksy.
My number 2 pick for Sharksy, I'm actually not going to change it. I'm going to take Cooper Kupp at number 2.
Yeah, I mean, he is the best receiver, bar none.
He's the best fantasy receiver. He's literally the entire Rams offense. If the Rams are doing anything, it's Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I think the gap between him and the number 2 receiver is about what we thought. We just got the number 2 receiver kind of wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, number 3, I'm going to also keep this pick the same. It's Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, he had a rough 2 weeks to start, just like Eckler did, actually. I think it was like 8 and 9.
Bit of a slow start for both.
But it's, I mean, 1, Derrick Henry always does that. And 2, he's like the easiest 18 points game in the entire league right now.
Like he's pretty much guaranteed 100 yards and a touchdown. Like every week.
He doesn't really have bad games.
No.
And so, I mean, and I thought this was a little bit of a reach in the draft originally. I thought he was like number 4 or 5. It's not a huge reach, but a little bit. But I think the pick has been great for Dalton to be away.
Agreed. All right, for number 4, Agmills unfortunately can't take Austin Eckler because he's gone. So I'm going to give him. We're going to go Nick Chubb because when Steele picked him in the first round, everybody was like, "What are you doing? That's a reach." And Chubb just has been insanely good. He has so many touchdowns. I think he has like 10 or 11 touchdowns through 8 games. He's just been. I think he's probably the best pure running back in the league.
Yeah, it's either him or Derrick Henry. I think like they're both ridiculous. Yeah, Steele definitely got a lot of flack for taking Nick Chubb. Yeah. And there's a chance Nick Chubb would have been there at his next pick, but I think he's right. Yeah, I had Nick Chubb as my number 3 overall player in this redraft.
Yep.
For me at number 5, I'm going to do the same pick. I'm taking CMC. I think CMC's had 1 week below 10 points, and that was the 3 days after he got traded to the Niners.
And he didn't really play that much.
Yeah, and I think this is a little bit of a project. Like this is the most projection of any of the first 5 picks.
His upside is so much higher on the 49ers than it was on the Panthers.
Yeah, so I mean, realistically, he's like mediocre floor where he was still scoring 11 to 13 points a game at worst on the Panthers. But now his upside is just way higher. I think number 5 is about where he should go.
Agreed. For Banglewood, definitely not going the same pick that he had. He had Najee at number 6, and I was talking about this with the OG crew before the draft that I was pretty low on Najee, and I got some flack for that. But he's been pretty bad this year, so I'm gonna go with Saquon Barkley for Banglewood. He has returned
suspectly similar. It just makes me nervous.
He has returned in a big way back to, probably better than he's ever looked, and it's pretty good to see.
Yeah, I think the only thing with Saquon, why he was a little bit lower, I feel like he's had some invisible games, if I remember correctly. I mean, stats-wise, he hasn't, right? Like, he's never gone below 10 points, but there are some just games where I feel like he's not as impactful. Maybe I don't know. Because he's really fucking good. And he also hasn't had a crazy game yet. His highest, he had the 30 points in week 1, and since then,
week 1.
His second best game was 20.6, which is good, but he's definitely he seems kind of like a limited ceiling player at this point.
And it's partially, I think it's partially due to the Giants' offense isn't great because of Daniel Jones, so he's a little capped on like touchdown opportunities and stuff like that. So that's why he's middle of the round instead of top.
Yeah, and I'm sure Bengals is gonna be a little pissed you didn't give him my number 7 player is Tyreek Hill, and that's going to Biz in this mock draft, taken 19th by Banglewood in the second round. That's the latest player taken so far. Saquon was taken 14th. So those are the first 2 second-round picks we had that are moving up. Tyreek has been awesome this year. He's on pace for over 2,000 yards. He's looked good with Tua. He's looked good without Tua. My only thing with him is he doesn't get the end zone that often.
Yeah.
He could have so much more fantasy point. Like he actually had, or he has 6 more points than Cooper Kupp this season, which you don't think. But his inability to consistently get the end zone, he has 3 touchdowns on the year, 2 were in one game. So
he also has one more game than Cooper Kupp. One more game played.
That's true. Yeah.
So his average is a little lower.
Yeah,
but he has been insane with the number of receptions, the number of yards. He's on pace to get over 2,000 yards this season. So
it's ridiculous. It was a great pick originally, and originally this pick was Justin Jefferson, who we thought was going to be the number 2 receiver. Tyreek's actually taken that spot from him.
Yeah, 100%. With next pick, it's Beans. She took Joe Mixon in this spot, who up until last week had not been. I mean, he hadn't been bad. He'd been pretty consistently, getting between 12 and 15 points on average. But that's not really what you want in a first-round pick. So with this pick, I'm going to take Stephon Diggs for Beans.
Yeah, I think the debate for me would be between 2 players. And I think it's also interesting that in our draft, only 2 receivers went in the first round. I mean, Jamar Chase was number 13, but and we've already gone 3 in the top 8.
Yeah.
And that's funny because we both had the takeaway of we all undervalued running backs, and yet we're still going receivers because
they've just been so good.
Yeah, there's been so many good receivers. Stephon Diggs does. We're kind of after Saquon. I think there's kind of a break between everyone where these players have invisible games.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, number 9 overall. I didn't put this in my takeaways because I wanted it to be a little surprise. Number 9 overall, I'm taking Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
We thought there was 2 tight ends that were really good, and Mark Andrews has been good. He is clearly the second best tight end.
Yeah.
But Travis Kelce's just leaps and bounds above him. Mark Andrews did get injured, I know, but he's also played in it. He's played the same amount of games because Travis Kelce had a bye week and the Ravens hadn't. So they actually played the same amount of games, and Travis Kelce is 30 points up. Lamar Jackson's really struggled this year, which has kind of limited Mark Andrews, but Travis Kelce's just a fucking beast. And so many teams this year in our league are getting nothing from the tight end position. While who has Travis Kelce?
Beans has Kelce.
Yeah, I mean Beans never has to worry about tight end, and I think that's just so valuable.
Yeah, I mean tight end. Last year and this year, it's just been a wasteland after the top couple. And it's even in the top couple, it's Travis Kelce and then the other guys. He's just a step above every other tight end. That taking him in the first round is worth the positional advantage you get there. So yeah, I like that pick a lot. So, but with number 10 for Reeves.
Curious because I had the first 9 players and then
this is where it gets a little. This is where it gets a little more difficult, I think. But number 10, Reeves took Dalvin Cook in the real draft, and he's been pretty good. But I would have to go with, and I kind of want to do it just for the meme of what was happening pre-draft for weeks. I'm giving him Joe Mixon.
God damn it. All right, Joe Mixon goes number 10. Yeah, I mean, we kind of already talked about it. He's been good. But
I think he's the best running back left on the board. And I
actually don't have him as the best running back left on the board.
Oh,
so okay. I'm curious. So I'm number 11. This is for Spencer's team. Do we take? I think you have to go running back here. It's not the best player on my board, but I think with seeing how shallow the running back pool is, I think you go running back here. The player I have ranked over Joe Mixon is Travis Etienne.
Oh, shit.
He was taken 36th overall, so it's by far the lowest pick we've had so far.
By me.
But I think it's pretty clear. He has 118 points compared to someone like Saquon with 142, which is crazy. He's played an extra game, but he also didn't start for 3 games. And it's clear that he's the focal point of the offense. He's pretty consistently getting a touchdown every week now and 100 yards. He has the best yards per carry in the NFL over the last, I think it's 3 or 4 weeks. It's definitely an investment pick. I think, if this is the real draft, Spencer wants to get like a high floor second round pick to try and balance out those first couple weeks.
Yeah.
But I think, and this is a little bit of projection, but I think by the end of this season, Etienne's going to have been worth a first round pick.
Yep. I agree. I mean, those first 4 weeks, speaking from experience, because I drafted him, were rough, but I was sticking with him. And then once J-Rob got sat and then traded, Etienne has just exploded, and it's pretty much saved my team. So I definitely agree that is a good pick there. Now for my team, going back-to-back picks here, I'm a little sad you took Etienne, but I gotta go Justin Jefferson for one of these picks.
No way does he make it out of the first round.
Yeah. I mean, he's too good on too good of an offense to not. I mean, he's not been what people expected him to be, which was wide receiver 1 or 2, but he's still been very good and has had some boom weeks. He has had some down weeks, but I mean, that's just how it goes with receivers a lot of the time. And he'll win you weeks with some of the things he does. So he's the last pick of the first round for me.
Yeah, I was surprised when I was doing research. I thought that him and Stephon Diggs were going to be really close. And Stephon Diggs actually has like over 10 more points, which isn't that much, but it is a pretty substantial difference. Yeah, Justin Jefferson has a couple of those no games. That's mostly when Kirk Cousins is on primetime.
Yeah.
Which hasn't happened but once this year, or twice? Once or twice? I think once.
Once. Just once.
Yeah, and that was Justin Jefferson's worst game of the year, I think.
Yep.
Maybe second worst. It was week 2. Yeah, I do think it's interesting. We went from 10 running backs in the first round and 2 receivers to 8 running backs.
3 receivers and a tight end.
7 running backs, 4 receivers and a tight end. Yeah, Kupp, Tyreek, Stephon Diggs, and Justin Jefferson. And the only player in this group that was not drafted in the top 18, Tyreek was 19, and then Etienne was 36.
Yeah,
so we've actually it's not a bad. It's really not that bad.
It's not.
Who are you taking for number 13 to start the second round?
To start the second round for my team, I really want to get a high-end running back. Because I mean, people try to do 0 running back and go like stack receivers, but I'm not the biggest fan of that strategy. So I'm gonna pick who I did not expect to be as good as he has been, and I'm a little scared to pick him here because of how it's gone recently for him. But it's Josh Jacobs. He has been one of the pleasant surprises of the year, and a really solid running back 1.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the guy who drafted him, and I didn't expect him to be this good. He was picked 56th overall. And yeah, I mean, there's a big running back drop off. So I think if you take a receiver, I mean, you could, but man, it's a little suspect if you go that route.
Yeah.
So Spencer is up at number 14. He has Travis Etienne currently. I'm going to go Jalen Waddle at 14. Jalen Waddle had a big week 2, which is going to help cover up that Etienne weakness if you're trying to get your elite players. He also has 140 points, 4 points less than Justin Jefferson. Well, he was picked number 41 overall, by the way. What a great pick by Beans.
Yeah. The Dolphins have 2 top 5 fantasy wide receivers on the
It's
same team.
absolutely, yeah, it's disgusting.
Like,
He finds the end zone a lot more than Tyreek Hill. The yards aren't there always, but
mhm.
he is the red zone guy. And yeah, this whole offense is just ridiculous.
Yeah, he's the red zone target, but also he can also break off a huge play like Tyreek can. Like, we've seen a couple times this year where Waddle will catch a slant pass 5 yards down the field and just take it 60 yards for a touchdown. That offense is just so explosive, so many big plays that it's just heaven for fantasy.
Yeah, I think a core of ETN and Jalen Waddle, if you make it to the playoffs, that's a goddamn good core that I'm proud of at the end of the season. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah. So who's up? Reeves is up at 15.
Yep, with Reeves' next pick. Ah, man. So he's got Joe Mixon already, which is solid running back 1 every week with the potential to pop off. So, I mean, there are good receivers available still, and would want to keep that balance. I'm going to go with Devontae Adams. He has some down weeks. Like, the Raiders are just really weird. They're off. Like, going into the season, people thought their offense would be awesome because it was fine last year, and getting arguably the best receiver in the game on your team usually helps. But even though the Raiders have not been great, Devontae has still been pretty good. With, I think his average per game is like 16.5 or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple weeks there early where the Raiders didn't use him, and then they've made it a clear emphasis the last few games to at least try to get him the ball. So, and I think it's nice to put like a player with a little more buzz potential, but also a more boom potential with someone like Joe Mixon. Like, that's kind of the balance you want. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid draft. So for me, I thought it was going to be difficult. It's actually pretty easy because after this player, we will have taken the top 16 players on my board. So 16, I'm going to take running back Ramondre Stevenson.
Yep, that's one that I was debating to go on Reeves' pick.
Yeah, similar to someone like ETN. Who's this for? Is this for Steele? Yeah, Steele's going to have to deal with a few rough weeks at the beginning when they didn't know who to play between Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. But the injury, in this hindsight draft, we know Damian Harris gets injured, and Ramondre looks way better than Harris ever did as the lead running back. So, and you already have Travis Kelce for Steele's team in this draft. So you have a consistently good player already, and I think Ramondre Stevenson is like the guy here. He was picked 96th overall, making him the highest jumper so far.
Yeah, Stevenson. I mean, that's another partially projection pick because the Patriots don't have much of a passing offense, and their rushing offense has been great all season, and it's Stevenson's backfield now with Harris out. And even when he comes back, probably won't get much work because Stevenson has looked so good. So that's a good pick there. With Beans up next, she has Stephon Diggs from the first round, so we're definitely going to be looking at running back because you do not want to go the first 2 rounds without a running back because that would be painful.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give her some home cooking. I'm gonna give her Dalvin Cook. Give her that Vikings representation. Cook has been solid. He's not been anything crazy, but having him as your running back 1, you can't really be upset about because, I mean, as long as he stays healthy, which he has for the most part this year, he will produce.
Yeah, he's the first player that's been picked so far in this draft that's dropped. But I don't even think that's bad necessarily. It's And like they sometimes just randomly use Madison. There's a lot of like inconsistencies with him, but yeah, I mean he's been good so far. He stayed healthy. Can't really complain about him in the middle of the second round.
Yep.
That's pretty solid. He was taken number 10 overall by Reeves. Yeah. So this next pick is
got Biz up.
She has Tyreek Hill, so she also needs a running back.
And it's getting a little scarce.
Have you seen Leonard Fournette's stats?
Yes, and they simultaneously make me want to puke and also kind of good because of his receiving.
Right. It's like, I feel like he's been shit this whole year.
I mean, his yards per carry is like 2.4 or something, which is god awful.
Like in fantasy, like I feel like he's been bad.
Yeah.
But they haven't had their bye week yet.
That's true.
He has 6 more points than Dalvin Cook.
And I feel like Dalvin has been way better.
Right. It doesn't feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of like disgusts me to take Leonard Fournette here because I feel like I'm taking a shitty player. But I'm not. And this is actually 6 spots higher than he was taken. So which I thought he was a reach when Becca took him.
He just gets so much dump off work. Just Brady can't find somebody open and just dumps it off to Fournette. He gets like 5 yards in a half PPR. That's pretty valuable. So I think that's why his points are higher than we expect them to be. But I mean, it works for fantasy, I guess.
We're just like both like.
It feels gross, but it makes sense. Yes.
And yeah, there's a clear drop off to the next running backs. I think it's kind of weird though, because like he was never the guy who did passing in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
He was
full run.
And now his running is terrible. And he's actually not bad in the passing game. Like he does, he's decent after the catch. Like it is weird. Go ahead with the next. Yeah, let's stop. We spent way too much time on Leonard.
Way too much. We're moving on to Banglewood. He got Saquon in the first round. He's going. Oh, fuck. My conundrum here is between Jamar Chase and AJ Brown. Jamar Chase had a very good first week. Rough few weeks in between, like 3 or 4 weeks, and then popped off for 2 weeks and then got injured. And we're not sure how long he's going to be out with his hip injury. He didn't go on IR, but that's not always necessarily a good thing, as we see with Keenan Allen. And with him having Saquon already, I'm going to go with the safer pick in AJ Brown.
So like I have all my big boards and I'm putting them like a number where they're getting picked. And our last 6 picks, because this is last 7 picks, which were picks 13 through 19, are the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th players, all in order. I think taking Jamar Chase here would have been a grief.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to put him higher, but then when I looked, there's too many bust weeks, like where he's just mediocre as hell.
Yep.
Along with the fact that he's getting injured, he'll probably miss between 3 and 5 games. I think best case scenario is probably 3 or 4. I don't know. I think it's way too risky.
Yeah. AJ Brown's definitely the pick there. He's on one of the best offenses in the league. He's a wide receiver 1. He's just a beast in general. The Titans were idiotic to trade him, in my opinion. So AJ Brown, Saquon for Banglewood.
That is a damn good core.
Now for the commish man.
Me in a rough spot.
Got CMC just like you did in the real life.
So the next 4 of the next 5 players on my board are running backs. I already have CMC. I take another running back?
Not a bad strategy to just secure your two running backs.
Receiver's so deep. I feel like I can probably get one. Yeah, I'm taking. There's two. I'm just debating between. Fuck.
Is one of them Alvin Kamara?
No, actually, he is out of those four. He is the fourth.
Gotcha.
I have CMC. Ooh, you know what? Fuck it. I'm taking Kenneth Walker.
Oh shit.
I think normally he's the third out of the group, so he's actually not what I have as the highest.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you have a guy who's been a high floor like CMC has been this season, you're kind of sacking the first 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
But since then, he scored 20 points in all of his starts except for one. I mean,
and
in the last 5 weeks, he's like he's a top 5 running back.
Yeah, I mean, and for the rest of the season, he projects to be a top 5 running back because he's on the Seahawks, who have been a lot better than anybody expected them to be. So it opens up a lot for him, and he's just, when you watch him run, it's really similar to Travis Etienne and even Damian Pierce. They just run like they're mad at everything.
The balance is ridiculous too. All three of them, like they shrug off
the
hits
broken tackles. It's just insane. Those young running backs are great.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, this is definitely. I think you kind of have to build your draft if you're going to around this pick. If you're going to do that, because you do not want to go 0-4 to start the season. You definitely could if your second round pick scores 10 points. So I think you probably have to build your draft around this, but I think with the context, I think Kenneth Walker's going into the playoffs with CMC on the 49ers plus Kenneth Walker is pretty
strong. Yeah. All right. Moving to Ag Mills, took Nick Chubb in the first round. Oh, man. I'm really leaning going running back. But I'm like, I have 4, just like you were saying. I have like 4 that I could pick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go. Let's see. He's got Nick Chubb, so he's got steady. So we could go with some volatility here. I'm gonna go one of the biggest leaps in the draft. I don't even know where this guy was picked in the draft. I have it
written down, everybody.
I'm gonna give him Miles Sanders.
Okay. So Miles Sanders was pick 87 originally. I forgot to say Kenneth Walker was pick 111. He was the lowest drafted player out of all the players I ranked. Oh, no, second lowest drafted out of all the players I ranked. But yeah, Miles Sanders has been really good.
He's gotten into the end zone this year, actually, and it has been huge.
Yeah.
And like I said, with A.J. Brown, he's on one of the best offenses in the league. And he is the starting running back. Like, they play a lot of running backs, but he gets the most work by far. And it's led to a lot better than anybody expected.
Yeah, I think my only issue with taking, because he has Chubb, right? Yeah, so he has Chubb and then Miles Sanders. My only issue is the floor with this draft kind of seems a little low, but the floor seems high, but the ceiling seems low.
Yeah,
like Chubb, like he'll occasionally pop off, but he's pretty consistent, and so is Miles Sanders. They don't really have explosive games.
That's fair.
So I think realistically, I think if you're doing this in the third round, you want to get a receiver who's like a potential pop-off player. Maybe reach for someone who's got a good potential pop-off. Dalton and B-Way. I wrote their first pick down as Dalton, which was really
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, well, I wrote it down as Dalton.
Dalton Henry.
And B-Way selected Dalton, but it happens. So Dalton and B-Way selected Derrick Henry. Do they need another running back? Not really. You know what? Because this team has not been able to find a tight end all season, I'm going to give them Mark Andrews. We talked a little bit earlier about how Travis Kelce's been the best tight end. Andrews is still a decent bit above second, considering that he's missed a game due to injury, or a game and a half, basically, due to injury. Yeah, he's really good. Like, I don't know what else to... Mark Andrews is really good. He was taken 16 originally, and I think if he didn't get hurt, he'd probably be taken around 16 again.
Yep. That's the only reason I didn't pick him up earlier. Was because of his recent injury.
Yeah, really good, and he has explosive potential too. With just because randomly Lamar Jackson will just chuck him the ball like 13 times in a game.
Yep. All right, Sharksy up next picked Cooper Kupp, and I did not plan this, but I think it's probably the best pick available. And it's really funny. I'm going to pick Josh Allen. Because he's been a game-changing player. Obviously, the only reason a little scary is because of his recent injury on Sunday. He hurt his elbow, but I think the early signs were that he should be fine, should be able to play through it. And it's just really funny to give Sharksy Josh Allen. So.
Yeah, I actually originally had Josh Allen ranked a little higher than I do currently, this is about where I would have expected. But because him and Pat Mahomes are so close, I didn't really know where to differentiate that. Josh Allen was picked 26th originally, and he's at 23. So basically the same spot.
Yeah.
If this was a real draft, I would question why Sharksy didn't wait until 26 again to pick him.
For the meme.
But, I mean, yeah, it's about where he's supposed to go. And let's see, Austin Eckler.
Becca with the back to
has
back.
Austin Eckler. So my highest ranked running back available is Dameon Pierce. If she takes Dameon Pierce, she's essentially sacking the first 2 weeks of the season. Because Eckler struggled really hard, and so did Dameon Pierce. It gives her a really nice core going into the, you know what, fuck it. I'm taking Dameon Pierce.
I like it.
Yeah, the value is too good. I mean, I think there's a good... I'm not a big fan of a lot of the running backs that are after this, except for one who she cannot take because she has Eckler, I think.
And she also has 2 running backs already. So taking 3 in a row might be a bit of a grief.
Well, I mean, she couldn't take that one
here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid... Like, Pierce has been really good. We talked about the rookie running backs already. He's been consistent. He hasn't, had crazy games, but he's been, a consistently good running back.
He did have that one game where he had a 75-yard touchdown where I think he had 140 yards on a touchdown. That's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
So he's definitely once the Texans coaching staff realized that Rex Burkhead is not it. It was pretty obvious that he was going to be their number one, and he's paid off for him.
The coaches in the NFL piss me off so much sometimes. Did you hear what you just said?
Yes.
Rex Burkhead.
30-year-old Rex Burkhead.
It's like, how are there so many bad calls? Rant over. Second went to second round. I believe we have 7 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a quarterback, and a tight end.
Yep.
So that puts us at 1 quarterback,
2 tight ends,
14 running backs, 7 receivers, and 2 tight ends. Can I do math? 21. Yeah. Wow, look at that. That's 24.
That's one less receiver than we picked in the first 2 rounds in the actual draft.
Yeah, it's pretty much I think it's just swapping out Josh Allen for a receiver, actually.
Yep.
Which is kind of crazy that we had the same distribution.
But a few different players, obviously.
Yeah.
But it is cool that's the same distribution pretty much.
Let me check something. So every player in the original draft did get a running back in the first 2 rounds, and that's the same here. So, yeah, I mean, we kind of have the same strategy. which I was expecting like something different to pop up, but it kind of just didn't.
Yep.
I mean, obviously players changed. Kenneth Walker, Damian Pierce, these guys, Miles
ETN,
Sanders, ETN, yeah.
Josh Jake. Oh wait, no, Josh Jacobs was in the second round.
But yeah, I mean, it's actually not as like loud as I expected. Any thoughts before we move on to round 3?
This round is going to be hard, I think.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot about focusing who you have and not as much about BPA.
Yeah, agreed. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're starting with Becca's draft. She currently has Austin Eckler and Damian Pierce. She needs a receiver. You can also lean quarterback here if you really like Pat Mahomes.
Yep.
But I'm going to give her Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was taken pick number 95 by Sharksy in the original draft. This will make him one of the highest sleepers in the entire thing. I think the questions were going to be like, how did Jacoby Brissett look? Did they look good together? And the answer is, yeah, he's pretty fucking good.
Turns
good
out.
Player, does well, yeah. And he's had a couple plus 20 games. He has had a couple duds, which is going to suck, but her running back room is so good that she can survive a couple duds. I think she needs like the pop-off potential, and that's why I like Amari Cooper.
Yep. For Sharksy's third, I'm going to give her Aaron Jones. He has had some bad weeks, but he's also had some very good weeks. It's just the way of Aaron Jones. But also this year, A.J. Dillon has kind of fallen out of favor with the Packers, and the last few weeks, Aaron Jones has gotten a lot of work.
Until this week.
Yeah, until this week, but
where they decided to they're like, hey, running the ball's been good. No.
Let's not.
No.
But for the most part, he's one of those players that is going to give you 35 points or 4 points, and you're just going to have to take what he gives you. But he'll win you weeks, and that's her RB1, which is a little scary. But with Josh Allen and Cooper Kupp, that's a pretty steady base.
Yeah, for sure. I like it, honestly. I think it's I like it. So Dalton has Derrick Henry and Mark Andrews. This is about where I expected Pat Mahomes to be picked. But I don't like taking a quarterback. I don't know. I feel like he should try to get 2 running backs. And I think because he has Mark Andrews, I think he can survive taking Alvin Kamara. So I'm going to do that. Alvin Kamara had a really rough start to the season. He missed weeks 1 and 3, and in weeks 2 and 4 scored 6.3 and 6.8, something around there.
Yep.
So when you take this in hindsight, you're going for the upside and the late season potential. He has Derrick Henry, so like week one especially is going to be a little rough. But Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara were both taken in the first round in our draft. You can have both of those players. Kamara was taken 11th overall originally, making him the furthest dropped person that got drafted. I mean, there's people that haven't gotten drafted yet that are going further. But yeah. So
I like it. Moving on to Ag Mills, he's got Nick Chubb and Miles Sanders, so it's definitely wide receiver time. Maybe consider Mahomes here. I don't know. I feel like waiting for the end of round 4 for your first receiver is probably too long. And
I don't know, man, because it's the running backs that I feel like you can't wait on. Receivers, they just pop out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Some of the people in some of these receivers got drafted so late. They're good.
Fuck it. We're going Patty Mahomes.
Okay. Agnell's quarterback issues are just solved now.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
He went from having the worst starting quarterback in the league to having the second best, who could end up being the best if Josh Allen keeps griefing like he has.
Yep.
So this
On
is
to
my
Travis.
team. I currently have Christian McCaffrey and Kenneth Walker. So I want someone with a little bit of pop-off potential, especially in the first couple. I'm going Christian Kirk. I think he complements what my team does well. I don't even know if he's the best receiver left, but one, I want to get through the weakness of the first couple weeks with Kenneth Walker not doing too well. And Kirk's been awesome. I mean,
he's had a few down weeks, but like, my hot take in the beginning, the first podcast, where he's going to be a top 12 wide receiver in fantasy, could come true. I think he is currently a top 12 receiver on the year.
The Jags haven't had a bye week yet, so it's a little misleading.
Yeah, but I think it's still possible for him to get up there.
I think if the slightly upward trajectory that he's on right now continues, then I think he probably will get there. But even so, let's say he's top 15. That's pretty solid at your third round pick.
Yep.
He's picked number 91 overall by Banglewood. That
was a great pick. 8th round.
Yeah, Holy. I mean, that was a great pick. But, I'm going to go Christian Kirk, 29.
All right, speaking of Banglewood, he is up next. Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown on his team already. We're going to go... You know what? Just because of his pop-off games that he has had and his pop-off potential that he can have when he comes back, Jamar Chase.
That was the other guy I was debating for me, but because I had Kenneth Walker, I was like, I don't trust myself getting two players that have been shit at times.
Yep.
Jamar Chase was picked number 13 overall. He goes 30 here just because of this injury, pretty much. Yep. And the inconsistencies. It's been kind of weird to watch.
I mean, I drafted Jamar Chase, and it was pretty frustrating the first 5 weeks when he had one good week in week 1, and that was basically it. But I went back and looked at his stats last year, his game log, and he's just kind of a boomer bust player. He either gets 2 touchdowns at 160 yards or gets 3 catches for 20 yards, and you just kind of have to roll with it because his booms will win you weeks and his busts will kind of maybe lose you weeks, but I think it's worth it, especially in the third round.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So I'm up next with Biz's pick. I have one player who I don't know. I'm so torn because my heart tells me they should be higher, that they should have already gone.
Mm-hmm.
But my mind's like, no, that's stupid. So I'm just questioning it. I'm giving it to Biz. I'm going to take Cordero Patterson at 31.
Oh, shit.
Cordero Patterson has played 5 games this season and has 74 points. That's pretty insane.
Yeah.
When you think about it, it's almost, it's getting close. It's 15 points a game, basically. As a third-round pick, he's really good. It's a run-only offense. He can catch passes, although in his games this year, he hasn't actually done a ton of that. And, okay, how did this guy go 74th in our draft?
I have no idea.
I looked back, and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, Sharksy got a damn steal, which she ended up trading away, but
for our number 16 overall pick.
Yeah.
I mean, Cordell Patterson, I think he's so good. But yeah, it's just crazy. That was the thing. I think that was the thing that most surprised me looking back on our draft is that Cordell Patterson didn't get drafted higher. But yeah, I think it's a boomer bust pick because he could get hurt again. You never know. And if he gets hurt again, he's completely useless.
Yeah.
But I think she needs a little bit more pop off because she does have Leonard Fournette, who is just randomly bad. So I think Biz needs a running back that could be a running back 1, and she has Tyreek, who's consistently good. Yeah, I mean, I think it works.
Yep, I agree. All right, for Beans, she's got Stephon Diggs and Dalvin Cook. And I'm going to give her the best running back that I have left, and I fucking hate this guy, Jamal Williams. He has been so good in the absence of DeAndre Swift. Just gets so many red zone touches. Even when DeAndre Swift is in the game, they get inside the 5, and Swift is just in the locker room. There's no shot he's getting on the field over Jamal Williams because, I mean, 80% of the time he's gonna punch it in because he's a big old boy. And then he gets in the end zone and he does his little salsa and it makes me want to kill myself.
Yeah. Pick 152 by Steele. 13th round. Has been awesome. Some players that were picked before him, just because I thought it was funny. Chubba Hubbard by some dumbass, one of our hosts. Sky Moore, wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, who doesn't play. Brian Robinson, about a week after he got shot. Julio Jones by our other dumbass host. Yeah, there were a lot of bad players picked before Jamal Williams, and he makes the jump up to a 3rd-round pick. That is the biggest jump by far in this draft.
Yeah, looking back at it, I probably should have picked this guy as a handcuff for Mr. Glass Swift.
Yeah, it definitely would have been a smart strategy. I just...
But nobody ever said I was smart. So
yeah, I thought they were going to throw the ball, and Jamal Williams runs the ball a lot, and it's like, why are you running with your backup? But he's actually pretty good. He could probably start for some teams. I don't
fuck that guy.
Great
fuck
pick, Steele. That was a sick pick. Number 30. Wait,
are you good?
God, I had a seizure.
We're picking for Steele now.
Okay, see, I was thinking great. I said great pick, Steele, and then I looked and I said Steele is the next pick, and I was like, what
wait a minute.
The fuck? Okay, so Steele, professional. Steele currently has Travis Kelce and Ramondre Stevenson. So obviously, I'm looking at wide receiver or quarterback. There's a lot of mediocre as fuck receivers here.
Yep.
I have no more running backs on my board. I don't know about you. I'm out of running backs.
Yeah, I'm also out of running backs.
And I think I just don't think the value's there at running back for Steele. I think he could try to go for another one, especially because Ramondre Stevenson had a really bad first couple weeks.
We definitely hit the running back cliff where it kind of just falls way off.
It is off a goddamn cliff, that is for sure. I'm going to take Jalen Hurts.
Oh, boy.
Still could probably use a receiver, but receiver's so deep this year. I think you can probably delay one. Jalen Hurts has been clearly the 3rd best quarterback. He's ranked 5th right now, but Jamar Chase and Lamar Jackson both have bye weeks this week. Hurts is awesome. I thought with him because he can run, and no, he's actually just suddenly a good quarterback and can run.
He's just good.
Fuck. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think when there's no other value, I think this is a fine pick. Maybe objectively, it's a little bit of a reach, but I don't like a lot of the other people left.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot left just based on the season so far. For Reeves, up next, Joe Mixon, Devontae Adams. He's got a pretty steady team. Man. I'm gonna go... Tyler Lockett. He's been a pretty boomer bust player like he pretty much always has been. when Russell Wilson was on that team. He'd catch a deep ball for a touchdown or not do anything at all. And he's been similar this year, a little more consistent, and surprisingly has more points than DK, which I thought DK had more points, but he doesn't. So I'm going to go Tyler Lockett for Reeves. A little Seahawk action.
Yeah. Tyler Lockett was taken 90th in the original draft. He's just, yeah, I mean, you said it. He's boom or bust. That is what it is. Who got this? Reeves?
Yeah, Reeves.
And Reeves, yeah, I mean, yeah, I like it. I don't know. I like putting Lockett there.
I feel like he was the next best receiver.
Yeah, I think it was like a hodgepodge of them. So we have, what, 2 more picks?
2 more picks. Spencer up next.
Spencer has Travis Etienne and Jalen Waddle. Can't go running back because there is no running back. I'm going to do it partially because I want to talk about this guy because I did not realize he was ranked this high. And it's one of Spencer's current players. I'm going to go tight end Zach Ertz at 35. Zach Ertz is actually the number 3 tight end and like pretty consistently right now. I thought it was Dallas Goedert. So I was kind of surprised
they're pretty
when
close.
I heard it was. Yeah, they're pretty close. And Ertz is Ertz is actually more consistent, I think, whereas Goddard has a little more pop-off potential. But you've got Etienne and Jalen Waddle, who both have a ton of pop-off potential. I think consistency fits a little more in the scheme, or like with the team that you have. Yeah, I just think he's really fucking good.
Yeah. And especially with D-Hop out the first 6 weeks, he got a lot more targets, and Hollywood Brown got hurt, which led to more targets for him. I like the pick. And then last pick of our redraft is me. I got Justin Jefferson and Josh Jacobs, 2 JJs. Too bad there's no other JJs for me to pick, or else I would do it.
Is James Jones still on the Packers? Oh, Julio Jones, you've got this.
I did pick him in the real draft, so. Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna go. Partially, like you said, just because I want to talk about this player because he's been so good, and I think he's going to be really good for a long time, is Chris Olave for the Saints.
Wow.
He kind of needed a few games to ramp up into becoming a good target for the Saints. Michael Thomas got hurt, which helped. Jarvis Landry got hurt, which helped. But he's not just getting targets because he's the only guy there. He's getting targets because he's a really good receiver. And I know Ag Mills loves his Ohio State receivers. But I would love to have Olave on my team right now because my receivers suck ass.
Yeah. I was looking, I mean, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave have both been good. Both from that same school.
Yep.
Yeah, Olave's been awesome. It's hard because the quarterback is not good. And that's why I think there's a few players that have struggled this year. Guys like Deontay Johnson, who is not on this list. There's receivers that you think that are better than their production just because of bad quarterbacks. So I'm a little scared that Olave would fall in that category, but I think like it's a pretty good boom pick, I think, like boomer bust pick.
Yep.
So what guys were on your board that didn't get drafted?
I had Mike Evans on my board. Didn't get drafted. He went what did he go? He went 25.
Yeah.
And I mean that's just mainly because the Bucks have been so weirdly bad. Another one I had was CeeDee Lamb. He had a rough start to the season. He's started to become better the last few weeks. He got picked in the second round. And I think that was the only other one. I had T. Higgins on mine as well, and he did not get drafted.
Those were the 3 players on my draft board that did not get drafted.
Bruh.
I think out of those, I made this earlier, and out of those, I actually like CeeDee Lamb the most. I think because Dak's coming back, and he's been okay with Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
Which means like he should be really good with Dak Prescott, right? Hopefully, maybe.
I agree.
Yeah. Mike Evans and T. Higgins just kind of scared me.
I want to give a little bit of an honorable mention to Alan Lazard, because once he came back from his injury, he has been really, really consistent, like a 10-point per game receiver, which is, I mean, you'll definitely take that at your wide receiver 2 position. And then a few of the I had a notable left out list. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor, but big disappointment. First overall pick, curse. Najee has been bad. Swift has been hurt and not getting work. James Conner, which was a pretty sus pick in the first place, got hurt and hasn't really looked great. Kyle Pitts, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams. Even though Mike Williams was pretty good before he got hurt, but now he's hurt for a while.
He also got helped a lot by Keenan Allen getting hurt.
Yeah.
For the first time in years. And I question whether Mike Williams would have been that good, so it was questionable, but yeah. And then a few other, Deebo Samuel, I think, is up there as well.
And Cam Akers. That is a yikes of a third-round pick.
Ooh, yeah. DJ Moore. DJ Moore's in that group as well. Javonte Williams got hurt. Which he was underperforming a little bit, I think, before.
He was doing all right though.
Yeah, So yeah, I mean, that's our draft. It's not. I'll post the results with a spoiler tag if I can figure out how to do that. In Discord, and just say like podcast spoilers if you want to like have it written down. I don't know. Maybe people do. That was fun. It was kind of cool, like going back and seeing where we got right and where we got wrong.
I liked it.
And even like the first, like we talk about the first overall pick curse, but like your first round pick, but actually both your 2 first picks have been kind of sus.
Yeah.
Najee in the first round, like these guys that we just talked about. You had to part of fantasy is overcoming when your draft picks don't hit.
Yep.
And I think that's where a lot of the skill comes in. So, but yeah, I don't think anyone's going to learn anything from this, but there you go.
But it was fun.
That's our topic, fuckers.
We had a good time.
All right. Let's retire this bitch and move on to week 10.
Hit a little preview.
There are 2 big matchups, I think. One is Spencer versus Benglewood. I think Benglewood's been a pretty hot team recently.
Yep, that was my matchup.
He's on a 4-win streak. Yeah. Spencer did lose this week, but he was hot before this week. He lost by 2 points.
And it was a 2-point loss.
Yeah. I think these are 2 of like the best 4 teams in the league right now in my power rankings.
Spencer will have to make his 3rd waiver transaction because he has Nick Folk on a bye.
Let's see if he remembers without Reese reminding him.
Yeah, literally 30 minutes before the game.
Yeah, I mean, what do you? I think I'm gonna ask you to pick this one on the spot. Who are you picking for Spencer versus Benglewood?
Oh man, really? I mean, I feel like I have to go with Benglewood. I really like his team with the Tua Tyreek stack. Obviously, is insane. They're playing against Cleveland, who has been not great on defense. He's got Chris Olave, who I just talked about, Dameon Pierce, and Najee is but other than that, his team is really solid. And the main reason I want to pick Benglewood is because Spencer's receivers are sus. Playing Robert Woods and Cortland Sutton. I mean, he has A.J. Brown in his flex, which should be his wide receiver 1, but the fact that those 2 players are in his lineup is not ideal.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has a pretty easy fix playing Darrell Henderson over Robert Woods if he decides to go that route.
Yeah.
Because I think Darrell Henderson is a lot better. It doesn't have Malik Willis playing quarterback. Yeah, I think these are two of the best teams. I think I already said it. Like, these are two of the most solid rosters. They both have a couple holes. I think Kyle Pitts, I think Cortland Sutton. These guys are like pretty big holes, but these teams are pretty fucking stacked. I'm gonna pick Spencer. I just Saquon Barkley against Houston sounds like a really nice matchup. Kamara against Pittsburgh could be a really nice matchup. Their defense has sucked.
True.
He also has New Orleans defense against Pittsburgh. Patrick Mahomes against Jacksonville. There's a lot. I really like the matchups.
Yeah.
And on the other side, I don't like Kyle Pitts. I don't like Najee Harris versus New Orleans defense. We just saw them. I mean, Kenyon Drake had a good night, but like, he's also struggled all year. The Cleveland defense has not been good, so maybe Tua and Tyreek can pop off. I think it's going to be a close one.
Definitely should be close.
I think it's going to be high scoring, too.
Oh, yeah.
The projections, I think both teams are going to break 112.
I'd say like Banglewood 132 to Spencer 121.
God damn, that's a high score. The other marquee matchup, I think, there's really two others. One is me versus Reeves. We're also in the tie stack.
Yep.
Reeves' team is one of the contenders to win the league.
Oh yeah, his team is. Every time I look at his team when we do this stuff, I'm like, literally his whole starting lineup is so good.
Yeah, there's some questions like who he's going to get on defense, and Justin Herbert again. He looked pretty mediocre last week against a bad Falcons defense. Now he's playing the 49ers defense. Off of a bye week, who had been dealing with some injuries. That's probably the only reason they were even doing poorly. Yeah,
surprisingly, the biggest question mark on his roster is Justin Herbert, which is weird to say, but TJ Hawkinson was very involved in the Minnesota offense. I think he had like a 90% snap percentage and 9 targets and 9 catches. So it seems like he's going to get work there, so should be a good tight end start.
And we'll see. Buffalo is a lot different than the Commanders as an opponent, too.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. He has double Vikings against Buffalo is a little scary. As well as Kenneth Walker against Tampa Bay is a little scary. But, yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, I expect Reeves to win. I've picked against myself like almost every week. I do expect Reeves to win.
Yeah, I would say I also expect Reeves to win. And I expect you to pick up some kind of different defense because I assume you do not want Minnesota against Buffalo.
Listen, the waiver process has not gone through yet. So you'll see.
All right.
And I think the other important matchup is Beans
Sharksy.
Sharksy's been on a pretty big slide, 3 losses in a row.
Sharksy down to 6th.
With Steele, they've both lost 3 in a row. And they were at the top of the standings and now are not.
Our rankings are manifesting themselves.
Right. Sharksy's team has been okay the last. I mean, hasn't been bad. 89, 91, and 99 points in the last 3 weeks. So not bad. But Beans' team just popped the fuck off. I don't expect that to happen again. But
she does have Joe Mixon on the bottom.
Murray start. I like this team.
Which could change with the waivers.
Sharks is also starting Chuba Hubbard, who we don't know if he's going to be useful or not. I don't know. This one could go either way. I have no fucking clue.
Yeah. Sharksy also needs to pick up a kicker with Evan McPherson on a bye, but she shouldn't have an issue with that. I think, assuming Beans is able to maybe pick up a different running back over Latavius Murray, because that's a weird situation in Denver with like 14 different starting running backs. I like Beans' team a little better, and I think T-Law should beat his projection against a not great Kansas City defense, especially because the Jags are probably going to be chasing most of the game because there's no way the Jags defense are going to stop Pat Mahomes ever.
Whoa, cringe.
McLaurin has been getting a lot more work with Taylor Heineke because it turns out it's beneficial to throw to your best receiver. Carson Wentz does not understand that. And Jalen Waddle is going to waddle. Miles Sanders.
Thank you for that analysis. Jalen Waddle is going to waddle.
Miles Sanders has been a beast. Alan Lazard's been consistent, like I said, and Travis Kelce should have a day against the Jags.
Let's see. Other match, yeah. I mean, I'm picking Beans as well. I think it could be. I could easily see it go either way, though.
Yeah.
James Conner randomly has those 3 rushing touchdown games, so who knows? I think your matchup versus Becca changed the team name, so there's some big money moves going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that team name is all about, but
she's manifesting dominance.
It's definitely putting the fear of God in my heart right now. Looking at that profile picture with that combination, oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Darren Mullin and Jonathan Taylor are both coming off injuries. I think I expect you to win pretty handily in that one. Let's see. We have Dalton versus Biz could be interesting. They're both 4-5, and they're tied for the last playoff spot right now.
That is a big playoff implications match.
And one of Biz's best players has been New England's defense, who's on bye week. She does have 2 kickers, though, so she can drop a kicker and pick up another defense without having to get rid of them pretty easily.
And Dalton and B-Way have the Jags defense against Kansas City. So,
and Mike Gesicki against anyone is always
oh Lord.
I'm gonna pick Biz to win, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I mean, Dalton and B-Way's team is looking better, I guess, just because
Justin
of how
Fields definitely helps.
Yeah, just because of how bad it was before, it's looking better. But starting George Pickens is not ideal. Jeff Wilson is going to be really touchdown reliant because he's the backup. And, they definitely need to pick up a different defense because the Jags are getting negative points on defense.
Yeah, I'm picking Biz on that one. And
yeah,
finally,
me too.
Steele versus Ag Mills. I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm picking Ag Mills. Steele has Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews on bye week. He's starting Will Disley at tight end. Sure.
He did
does
that
have the
last
Philly defense against Washington. That's not bad. Kirk Cousins against Buffalo is suspect. I don't know why that game's not in prime time, but it isn't.
1 p.m.
They should have flexed Kirk Cousins into prime time, which would have basically gifted Alex the win.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I don't like Steele's team this week. I think Jamal Williams could have a huge game. But other than that, I don't like. And yeah, Jamal Williams in the Philly defense. But other than that, I don't and Nick Chubb also.
Nick Chubb should against the Miami defense. That defense has been terrible.
His receivers are suspect. Quarterback against Buffalo is suspect. I like Alex's team this week. Alex, please don't let me down.
Yep, I would think I'm definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Ag Mills to double his win total in this week as well.
Let's go. And let's go to the outro of this podcast because I am a sick transition host.
Oh, man.
Thank you guys for joining us today. It's funny because we stopped the beginning stuff really early. It was 11 minutes. And then the topic
took forever.
Yeah, so sorry this is going to take a while, but we warned you. Get fucked. And peace out, Girl Scouts. See you next episode.